All right, well, wrapping up the show, we're doing some intros here. Gosh, we got some great recordings.
Yeah, great week. Lots of great conversations from all over the spectrum, and that's what keeps it interesting and exciting, and I think the freshest, most useful content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so on today's podcast, Rich Froning, man, world's fittest man. Gosh dang it, he has created this app, Mayhem Fitness, that's all catered towards hunting, towards Western hunting. It's a great app, so really fun to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, Mayhem Hunts, it's just a fitness app to kind of cater to your hunting style and get you ready for the fall. And, he has quite the pedigree.
Oh, man.
4-time CrossFit champ. And just a physical specimen, right?
Yeah, and then 4-time team champ or something like that. I don't know. Don't quote us on all his accolades. We're trying to remember from memory a few days later. But, yeah, just a really fit athlete. And he's carried that into his Western hunting. So we talk about all the benefits of it, the longevity, and then he really likes to hunt elk, so we get into that a little bit. But it made for a great conversation.
Yeah, just super engaging conversation, actually more engaging than I first thought. Like, the guy's a hunter. He's a killer. He kind of grew up in the lifestyle, and he took a break, doing the CrossFit games, and now kind of living the retired life-ish from the actual CrossFit games, of course, but more into the hunting now. So it's cool to see the progression, of his hunting career develop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We'll just thank a couple sponsors, get into the podcast. So Eberly Stock, thanks to those guys. We had Noah on the podcast, which they tease him that he's my son. He's a lookalike.
Brian Jr.
Yeah, you'll have to tune into the podcast, see us together. But, he was a killer as well, but made for a great podcast, but great products. We got to see some new stuff coming from Eberly Stock that we just couldn't be more excited for.
Yeah, new packs coming up for 2025 that – it shocked me. I'll tell you what. I'm excited. It's a pack that, on initial glance, you're like, that's not an Eberly Stock. So they're doing cool things.
Oh, they're killing it. Their R&D team. So we'll be releasing that podcast with Noah, releasing that pack where we talked about it. Let you guys know what that is for summer. It's got a great price point, but just one of the most comfortable packs I've ever put on. Really well designed. But they have a bunch of packs in there, different packs to fit your every different need. Dan, both me and you really like that new Free Fall, the 3,000 cubic inch. It's been a great day pack. Used it a bunch this season.
Yeah, it's got that frame in it. You can still carry some legit weight in it, but it's also a minimalist pack too, so a fantastic day pack that doesn't really weigh that much.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep, and they still have the main frame. They still have the Vapor series. Those are loved by everybody on our staff, so that's still a great pack. That's not going anywhere, but wait till you see this new one. Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
It is.
And the Bando bag. I love that thing. I use it everywhere.
Throw in the Bando bag, too.
Yeah, the Bando bag fanny pack that'll carry a pistol. I've been running with it with a pistol in it. It works really well. I'll use it for fishing. I used it for traveling to different countries to keep my wallet in it and stuff. It's been working really good, so I'm a fanny pack guy.
Absolutely. Bring the fanny pack back.
That's right, yeah. So thanks to Eberly Stock. Thanks to Cutter. We just did that podcast with Earl Stroll, had him on. He's just producing great products. The Cutter stabilizers are great, the carbon fiber, the connections. He's really thought of all of it. He just sent me the new weights. They have new 6-ounce weights that go with the 1-ounce weights, so you don't have to have a stack of weights on the stabilizers. Great sidebar mount, just a great product.
Yeah, it's just well thought out, carbon, high quality. It's hard to beat when you're looking for a good stab or a sidebar.
Yeah, and he's living the ethos. He had a great bow hunting season this year. Killed an antelope, killed a bull with his bow, and all with that Cutter stabilizer. So, he's doing really well, and products are doing really well. So if you're in the market for some new stabilizers, make sure to check them out.
Absolutely.
Yep. And over at Eastmans, we've got a new promo code, podcast. We're not sure how much it'll save you, but it'll save you some money. So we'll bend Scott's arm and get him to put a good promo code in there. But that's for our elite membership at Eastman's.
Yeah. Elite is our bundle that we're doing now. It's new for this year, But, yeah, you get the magazines, you get TagHub, you get the Elk Collective, you get the Deer Collective, and you get a free gift in there too. So make sure you get on our website and check that out and use that promo code. It's going to be good. It's not going to be just like a 5 or 10% off. It's going to be more than that.
For sure.
So, yeah, take advantage of that while you can, and that's exclusive to our listeners.
That's right.
So pretty cool.
Yep, really cool. Yep, we have that. We have our Beyond the Grid, of course, the magazines and everything we do. Some great episodes. Your recent Red Stag episode to New Zealand, which was really cool. We had Luke's Sheep Hunt that came out not too long ago, so check that out if you didn't see that episode, and just some great films coming up. Yeah, we're kind of winding down for it's actually our 2024 season. We don't really actually call it a yearly season, but it's what are we on, season 7 now. But yeah, last release coming up here is Alaska Black Bears with the one and only Jack Anderson. So wow.
When you think of entertainment and visualize how entertaining an episode could be, this is going to knock your socks off.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, how cool.
Predator management, we killed 8 bears.
Wow. Up
there in a depredation zone. So it's a very interesting management story as well, what Alaska is doing. So very proactive management tools, and it was cool to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 100%. Well, let's get into this podcast. It's a good one.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay. But yeah, well, things are going good, huh?
Yeah, going real well. You know, yeah, family's good. Fitness is good. Hunting was good up until, man, whitetail kicked my butt this year. I'm new to whitetail. That's like, I'm opposite of most guys from the east where they start whitetail and go elk. I started elk and went whitetail. I started turkey, but man, whitetail. We went to Greg Ritz's place and got struck out there, which is, you know, my buddies kept telling, because I never was into whitetail a ton until the last couple of years, and so my buddy's like, "Oh, you're going to the Mecca," and we didn't see anything. And granted, it was a little early, probably it was late October. Bad weather, and then even at home, we kind of instituted. I've got 160 acres, so we instituted a bow only for a buck. And so I killed several does. We need to clear up some does. But, man, I just could not find a buck within range. And so frustrating but good. It was good.
Those older whitetails, they get so good in small areas. They're so crafty. It just seems like they run a lot of, like, dark programs where they're not showing themselves during daylight much, and then the way they move through, the way they breed does, and then timing is such a big part of it. You said you were a touch early, and you go a week later, and it can be a totally different hunt.
Yeah, or even, man, it was crazy. So Scott, our camera guy, we were with Greg, so we were filming for his show, and he wanted one of his camera guys with me, but he let Scott come, and so he was with Jake Powers, and every time they would sit, they'd say see shooters, but Jake was on cold buck duty, and then I would not see anything, and we would switch, and then they would get it was every time. So I'm like, hey, where are you going to send Jake? I'll take that spot. And we still, you know, they saw, so, you know, they've got all their deer kind of named and know their patterns, and, you know, like, hey, you can shoot this one, you can't shoot this one, whatever for Jake. And so we called him Oscar the Grouch because he just had, like, trash everywhere on him. He looked like he was old enough to drink. And he's got this awesome video. It walks. Jake says they see him, and Jake's like, oh, I can't shoot that buck. He walks 15 yards in front of him and just keeps on trucking. He said he had shots from 30 out to 15 and then to 30 again. We get back, and they show him the buck, and they're like, we've never seen that buck before in our lives. You could have shot that buck. Whoa. And it's like a once-in-a-lifetime, just gnarly, nasty. Looks like one of those great white sharks you see that just has scars. Like, you could tell he was a fighter, and just one of those things.
Big old troll cruising.
Just cruising, just being a dude, awesome. You know. So it was fun. Like, I learned a ton of patience. But, yeah, we had a really good early elk season. We killed in Idaho with born and raised guys, and then killed in Utah. And then my buddy that we have a lease in Colorado, he killed during rifle, and I helped guide him. We both had bull tags, but I'd already killed, and so I was like, it's not me to say, hey, you take the shot, but I let him take the shot. So, you know, I was there first, but I was like, we get there, and my best friend in the world, we own the farm together, and me and Scott are, you know, we see elk, we go to elk, right? And so Matt and another one of our camera guys, they're slowly making it to us, and we get up there, and I'm like, do you want the tripod? And he's like, what? I can't hear you. My heart's beating in my ears, basically. And so I'm like, do you want the tripod? And the look of, like, surprise that I was giving him the shot is like, yeah, I'll take the tripod. And so it was awesome. So he killed that. And, man, we usually have a cow tag for that unit. And this year with that winter kill 2 years ago, they cut the cow tags. We could have killed 150 cows. I had a cow at 40 yards, and I've got a 300 Win Mag, but no cow tag. So, but it was still fun. It's always fun to get out in the mountains and lose yourself.
I feel like that elk hunting fits your style and your fitness. And like it's elk hunting is like they cover a bunch of country and they love to go uphill.
Yep.
They're nomadic, and so you have to cover country and be nomadic as well. I feel like that fits your skill sets really well.
It fits my skill set and my my ADD / obsession to move and feel like I have to have done something, So, yeah, man, elk, it started with turkey hunting. Turkey was just had a really good friend that was like, hey, you should come turkey hunt with me. And I fell in love from there. And so, of course, people are like, well, if you like turkey hunting, you need to try elk. And, now that's where my passion's at. That's where my heart is. So
it's
nice.
Dan too. Elk are his favorite, and definitely during September, elk are my favorite. And then Dan hunts red deer as well, which I've hunted red deer too. It's
that's
real
kind of the
similar.
next-ish thing
they're
I wanna
really
do.
fun in the spring. Dan just had a video come out on Eastmans where he went over with his wife. That was a good one.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah,
it's hunting elk in April. I mean, it's the next best thing.
That sounds amazing.
I'm
in.
No, exactly.
Tell me where to sign. Man, September's just something special. Yeah, obviously, like I'm an equal opportunity hunter. I'll hunt with a rifle. I don't care, but my passion is bow hunting. I just enjoy it and enjoy the intimacy, the challenge, like you're saying, just being in the hills and listening and going and moving and messing it up and then trying to figure it out. So we messed it up for years, and so. Finally having it start to click over the last couple has been a ton of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's always that learning curve.
Oh, yeah.
It just takes time. How long have you been hunting?
I grew up in a hunting family, so from an early age, I didn't go a ton. I played sports, so I would sleep because training or whatever, or practice. My dad is super impatient. I'm super impatient, so having somebody that's super impatient teach somebody else that is super impatient.
Double negative.
We didn't really hunt a ton together, but I remember, my dad going out in the woods. I would go with some uncles, but I never really killed anything until probably early 20s. And then, I killed a doe with my bow on our property when we first bought it, so that would have been 2014, I think-ish. And then before that, turkey hunting was, 2 or 3 years before that. So, at least the last 15 years I've been into it.
Awesome,
and then the last 10, like, obsessed with it.
Yeah, that's what it takes.
Yeah, it's, going out west, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm in.
Yep. Like Dan says, there's such a learning curve to it, and it's not something you can learn in a year, or even a handful of years. It's like a lifetime endeavor to, and I really feel like the more you improve your knowledge and your skill set, just the better your chance of success. And they still don't come easy. They are still extremely difficult. But I like the style of hunting them, the aggressive, making plays, making mistakes, learning from it.
Offensive, like the more and more I've hunted whitetail, I always joke, I'm always like, it's like not defensive by any means, but once you've made a play, you're kind of stuck in that play, where with elk, you can make your, change that day. With whitetail, you're like, oh, I got to make my change this afternoon, or you can change, but it's never worked out for me. So, I'm like, I don't like this tree. It's about 7:30, and I'm like, maybe I'll go to that tree, and then you get caught doing something stupid, right? So, elk, and it's just been fun, especially with like the group of guys that we've hunted with. It's almost like a team sport, right? Like, more power to the guys and girls that want to go solo, but I like having one or two to like bounce ideas off. Like I always talk about how me and Scott, my camera guy, that we like have kind of grown together in hunting. So our style is the same. We'll bounce ideas. I'll tell him if he's stupid. He'll tell me if I'm stupid. Like we just work well together, and it's a ton of fun. You get to share that kind of camaraderie, being a team sport guy. And then also even like this year, not guiding, but helping my buddy Matt kill his was even just as rewarding, because I didn't take the shot, but like we still did it together, and there was still something special about that. And so, man, it's just something that I've really enjoyed coming from competing at a high level. Is like it's a competition, really. When it's the first competition. The nice part is you don't have a couple thousand or million eyes looking at you and telling you when you screw it up, you know, like it's more like, oh man, we screwed that up. Right. So it's been fun for me to like have something I suck at and try to get better at.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you found a place to pour your passion
Yeah.
into, something that
Exactly.
you're excited about. And
Gives me something to train for, a goal.
Yep.
You know, I'm like, all right, all off season. You know, I've done Leadville the last couple of years, the 100-mile mountain bike too. So that feeds well into like, if I'm in mountain bike shape, I'm definitely in mountain shape. And then I think about, all right, how do I get all of us in shape to where there's never any doubt or any question of like, hey, what happens when we get that animal down? It's like, we're going there. You know, there's no second guess to it.
So how have you? So you have the app that you're using
Yep.
now, the Mayhem Hunt, right?
Mayhem Hunt, yeah.
Yep. And so, like, how is hunting elk fitness-wise? What have you changed from CrossFit to hunting elk that's really benefited you, like in the mountains?
Yeah, you know, so when our season would usually end in, say, August, right? So 1st of August so I'm in peak CrossFit shape. And so it would lend my skills very well into the mountains. So it wasn't a ton, you know, like obviously more time on your feet, more, you know, hiking or rucking with a pack, getting used to carrying stuff. I do a lot of shooting with my bow leading up to that too. So really, you know, what we've done with Mayhem Hunt is it's based in CrossFit, but what we do a lot more of is grunt work, carries, up and over things, machines, you know, building cardiorespiratory endurance, and gotten rid of a lot of the gymnastics. It's still based in CrossFit, high intensity, it's functional movements, and it's constantly varied. But guys don't need to be, you know, we'll do strict pull-ups. We don't kip in kipping pull-ups or anything like that. We still might rope climb or something like that because there is some functionality to that, having some grip strength, being able to pull yourself up onto stuff. We'll do a bunch of strict pull-ups, but we have gotten, limited the amount of gymnastics, you know, swinging around on a bar and stuff like that. It's just not needed, right? So one way to do that is, you know, you're going to carry a sandbag for 100 feet during rounds and stuff like that. So we've just learned that, you know, those are the types of movements we want to keep guys moving. We want to, you know, get people stronger. Legs first, obviously. You want to make sure that core is still there. And then a lot of guys, you know, you still need some upper body strength and need to be able to, like, think on your feet while you're, you know, under duress a little bit. And so, like, we'll throw in some shooting into some high reps or, like, some high heart rate stuff, which we've had some guys get on there. Oh, you're practicing bad habits. I'm like, we don't do it all the time, right? You know, like once a week. And there's been times where you, like, get to the top of a hill and you're like, oh, we got to make a play right here. Like this last year, we were hunting with born and raised guys. We got separated. Noah had a bull, but couldn't get him to come in. He was about a mile and a half away, and he's like, hey, I need you guys to get here. I need a shooter in between us. And so we hiked our nuts off and got there. And, I mean, full drenched sweat, but I was ready enough to took shot, good shot, dead elk, you know. Like, so you've got to be prepared in those moments. And so it was cool to see that, you know, pay off. So I'll do a lot of, like, not high heart rate, but more like zone 2 cardio, hop off, take a shot, you know, and then have a penalty or something at the end. So there's that just a little bit of in your back of your mind, like, if I screw this up, you know, there's going to be a penalty. And so, man, it's just been a ton of fun to use myself. It's for years I used my body, how I trained as kind of the laboratory, right, for competing and what we do with our athletes now on the CrossFit side. And now I'm doing it for the hunt side. So it's something I'm super passionate about, fitness, and something I'm super passionate and going to be doing hunting. So I'm like, why do we not marry the two together and get guys and girls prepared? So there's no question. I never want anybody that does our stuff to question, should I go after that animal, right? So
I love that. Yeah. I've always said legs and lungs kills bulls, and I've always ran a ton, but lately I've started to put more muscle on my frame and definitely seeing the benefits of it. You know, we're definitely in an endurance sport where it's all day and then it's day after day, but I just noticed that, you know, like core strength is so important, upper body is so important, and you're carrying this pack, and even my day pack has got so dang heavy over the years. Like it feels like 25 pounds, you know?
And then you need to be able to draw, you know?
And so I had great legs and lungs, but then if I tweak my back out, it does me no good. And so I've been doing, putting more muscle on my frame, a lot more upper body work, and you can get that work. Like, I think it just marries really good with CrossFit, is getting that upper body work. And just like you said, shooting your bow, like, I love mixing in the push-ups, pull-ups, high heart rate, and shooting my bow fatigued. That pin doesn't settle the same.
Nope.
The same as on a great big bull elk. So I just think, like, it's a great approach to it, and it lends itself really good to Western hunting.
One we did, or I've done, is a heavy deadlift. So I did 3 heavy deadlifts every, I think it was 90 seconds. And so that little bit of CNS, like central nervous system, like shock, and then trying to settle that pin was even harder than the high heart rate.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens out there. You get out there and, anybody who says they don't get some type of like shakes to them is a liar. Mine usually, I can, in the moment, I'm fine. As soon as the shot's over, I'm like, oh, like it's done. But so like training your body to handle that type of stuff is super valuable. Like it's not,
Yeah, no, I was going to add to that the importance. It's amazing what that does to your psyche. Like shooting, high heart rate, you're exhausted, you're tired, and it's like what we talked about in the past, shooting in the wind. Just the practice of managing pin float and becoming comfortable with it, but also capitalizing if that's the situation. You can still capitalize and make a good shot. And then once you practice that stuff, shooting in calm conditions, it's like you're on a freaking tripod, like rock solid.
No brainer.
So there's like, it's a huge value to any hunter.
Well, and you've said this a couple times. You said no bull too far. You can pack them out of anywhere. Like, it starts and ends with your mind. So these tough workouts that you're putting guys through, you're sharpening their mind as well. So when they get out there in the field, they're not going to give up easy. Or like you say, there's no hole too deep. There's no mountain too steep. Like, you're always going to go over the next ridge to go locate elk. And the biggest thing with killing elk is being into elk, and you have to cover a lot of country to go find them. And there's times where you dang near lose your mind because you can be in good elk country and there can be no elk there. So you have to continue to motivate yourself, keep pressing. So I think that's like another added benefit of the Mayhem Hunt, is like you're really building mental toughness.
Hard workouts. I mean, it's not easy. It's not for people that are like, I just want to, like do something easy. Like, they're hard workouts. As I always tell people, I'm like, CrossFit is for everybody, but everybody's not built for CrossFit. It's the mental side of it, and the workouts are hard. But I'll tell you, I've never been more angry than I have been elk hunting. Like just, if you're not seeing anything and you're in oak brush or just heavy brush and getting stuck, and like, I've never wanted to fight somebody or something as many times as I have been in the elk woods, but we love it, right? And so it's like you're building resistance to those things and knowing that, hey, I'm not going to mentally break or lose it here, but even though you want to.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you. There's nothing more frustrating. Dan calls it hunting angry.
Yeah.
So as he gets later in the hunt and he hasn't arrowed a bull yet, he starts almost hunting angry. But just what he means by it is hunting so driven.
Yeah.
Yes. It's driven, controlled
you're
mentally.
You're focused in.
Yeah.
I always joke that I wanted to shoot him in the face, like you want to shoot an elk right in the face. You hate him, but you love him, right? It's like the most frustrating thing you've ever done, and you want to literally just kill him. But it's that focus that you're just so frustrated.
And that's the important thing with whether you're doing CrossFit and you're building this high level of mental discipline. It carries over so beautifully into other things in life in general.
100%.
And I think that's what's powerful here. That's that mental toughness, because I'm sure, you see it, we know it. Hunting is a mental game largely as well.
Well, nothing that's easy is ever that rewarding. Like, I've always, because I catch a lot of flack because obviously my audience wasn't hunting initially. It was pretty broad. A lot of what I've noticed is the South Americans have a lot of problems with you killing, even though they'll eat a lot of meat, right? It kind of blows my mind. But, the fact of like, I waste way less meat. No meat, actually, and I don't let my kids waste meat that I've harvested. But at times previous to hunting, we're not going to eat that. Let's throw that away. Now, like, everything gets used because of how hard it was to get that animal, right? So you have that respect, obviously, seeing the animal die and being a part of that. But also, I worked for that. We're not gonna waste that. And so it gives you so much more appreciation for life. It's kind of weird that you're taking a life, but you have so much more appreciation. The difficulty of it, like, I think, it's really a society thing, right? We've all become soft, right? So we've got to do hard things to, I like to do a yearly check on doing, like we do a 24-hour row, a 4-person row. We'll do a 24-hour mountain bike race in Amarillo, 4-person. And it's like, it's a good mental check-in just to see, all right, am I getting soft, right? So I like to be ready for those types of things, and elk hunting is that. It's my September check-in of like, all right, where am I at, right?
Mental toughness, it's a muscle that has to be used.
And
you can lose it, even being you.
100%.
CrossFit, you have all these accolades, but it's still, if you're not using that mental toughness, if you're not doing the tough workouts, if you're not doing the tough elk seasons and really challenging yourself, it starts to go away. And that's same thing with Dan and I. It's can't rest on my laurels or bull that I killed last year.
Yeah.
Like I have to put in the work this off season, in the preparation, and next hunting season I'm going to have to keep my mind right and grind day after day after day.
100%.
I just feel like you have to flex that muscle.
Consistency.
Yeah.
I
think you're right.
I always tell people, my big things are faith, family, fitness. And so each day I try to be as objective as possible on like how I did in each of those 3 areas. Like did I get in the word? Did I live it out? And if I do good, short memory because tomorrow is a new day and I'm going to have to keep doing that, right? Short memory when you do bad because, there's only one way to get better, and just be better at it and try to string those days together. Same way with family, same way with fitness. And so that's it, like we've got to test that and make sure we're doing hard things or else it's going away.
Mm-hmm. I guarantee you all 3 of us have this in common. We love suffering.
It's crazy,
to a point, right?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yep.
When you're suffering and when you're suffering, you're getting better.
Mm-hmm.
You're preparing yourself. You're building character. Mm-hmm. And that ultimately is going to lead you into success no matter where you go in life.
Yep.
But I love suffering. Mm-hmm. It's crazy to say. My dad looks at me like I'm crazy when I tell him that. But
it's so miserable. And then when you're done, you're like, oh, that was awesome.
Oh,
and you can't explain it to people because unless they've done it, right? They don't know like how miserable it is in the moment. You're like, why do I do this to myself? There's days where it's just such an emotional roller coaster. Like when we used to hunt and we'd slow creep through like heavy timbers, and we still do that. But like middle of the day, you'd get to a heavy timber and you're like, oh, there's something in here. Then you get to the other side of the timber and there's nothing in there, and you're just like, dang, why am I doing this? Then you get to that next set of heavy timber and you're like, there's something in here. And then there's nothing in there. It was just such an emotional, like not only is it a physical, but it's such an emotional roller coaster. And by the end of it, you're just like dead. But it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, my wife, she just does not understand it because that's just not what she wants to do, right? Like she's like, you guys slept in a tent and you walked around miles every day, like the first couple of years when we wouldn't kill anything, she's like, so you wasted a whole week. And I'm like, I didn't waste anything, I had a blast. And she's like, you guys slept on the floor or in the tent, whatever, and you didn't kill anything. And you walked miles and miles. And, I'm like, yeah, exactly. So it's just it's awesome. Now I get to be like, see, I actually brought something home.
That's right.
It's nice when you pay your dues and start to see a little success from it, for sure. And once you get a taste of that, or once you get a hint of it, that hard work pays off, and the more disciplined, the more dedicated you are, like the more success you're going to see in the field. And I think once you start to build that confidence, it starts building upon itself, and you just start to see success. And there's a whole lot of other skills that go into it, like the just those hunting instincts, knowing when to slow down, knowing when to make plays, messing things up, learning from it. You
gotta mess it up. Yeah, right? You gotta learn.
Oh, you're gonna make some mistakes.
I've done a lot.
Me too.
And so, but that's how I learn. Somebody can tell me something, I'm like, yeah, sure. And then when you call a bull and then you move in too close, and then all of a sudden that bull's staring at you in oak brush 10 yards away, and you're like, shouldn't have moved in on this one, and busts off. So, yeah, we've done it, right? Mm-hmm, but it felt cool because I called him in, right? Mm-hmm. And so there was like, all right, I did that part right. Now how do I fix this situation? We had the wind right. We had all that, but we're like, we didn't know the vegetation. We didn't know what it looked like up here. Mm-hmm. And so, man, there's just so much. It gets me fired up even just talking about it.
I love how you're looking at these situations and how you can be better and learning from them.
Yeah.
Because there's always something to take away, and you can't – let your ego take over and go, oh, well, I got winded. And sometimes you do get winded, but maybe I should have had a higher understanding of the thermals and directionals.
Right, and
maybe I
swirling
should have waited to move in on this bull. So there's always a lesson to be learned, but you have to almost like take your ego out of it and look at it objectively of like, how could I have played this better?
Yep.
In a perfect world, hindsight's 2020. What could have I done different to kill this bull? Because you want it so bad, and those opportunities and encounters, they're fleeting and they don't happen often. Like you may only get 2 or 3 chances.
I'm always like, is that the only chance we're gonna get? And you're so frustrated when you screw it up. You're like, that was it.
Yeah.
And you got to hunt like that.
Uh-huh.
Like you're going to get one chance.
Yep.
And you got to capitalize. But that mindset is what, I mean, you might get another chance, but with that mindset, hunting angry, hunting with a mission, and being a student of the game.
Yep.
It's super important.
Absolutely. So do you use that same focus that you would use to like win at those CrossFit games? Like it's amazing because everybody trains so hard. Your competition level is so high. So to come out on top year after year, like I would think it's like your mind that pulls through in those tough times. And then do you see the benefit in that when you're hunting as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think, there's I always tell people there's a couple things that went into my success. Genetics, like obviously that has to be a part of it, right? Like I was a decent enough athlete that I had to work hard still. Like there are people who are probably more talented than me, but they didn't work hard, right? Because they didn't really need to. And so I had to work hard growing up. And so my parents are the 2 hardest working people in the room, in any room they walk into. They're I always say they're like sharks, because if they'd stop, they'd die, because they're always moving. That's just who my parents are. And then I'm one of 32 first cousins, 25 are boys. So
wow,
everything's a competition. So my entire life has been competition, right? And so I think I just like obsession really that's the way I won the CrossFit Games. Everybody talks about balance. You got to be balanced in this, and to be the best in the world at anything, there's no balance, right? And so I was obsessed with competing. I was obsessed with winning, and so that's really what carried me on for the 4 years as an individual. And then when we had my daughter, I was like, all right, I can't be obsessed with this. Like now, like, she's more important, my wife's more important, and then having 3 kids is different. So yes, I take that same hyper focus, that obsession into what we're doing now. Granted, there's off season and down period, but when I'm out there, that's like if we ever hunt, sometimes we've gone with outfitters and whatever, and they come in the middle of the day, it drives me. I'm like, set me over water, set me something. Like, we did a hunt last year with Mountain Ops, and it was awesome, but I was like, I don't want to go back to the lodge and hang out. Like I'm out here to hunt. I'm not out here to like hang out and whatever. Like, I hang out in the woods. And so I was joking with the one guy. I was like, hey, go put me over some water. And sure enough, they had cameras out. And they're like, man, if I would have set you by that water, you'd have had one, like a big 6 that walked out. And I'm like, that's not necessarily, but I'm like, man, I like when I'm there, that's what I'm there to do, right? And I'm not, checking in on my stuff at home, making sure everything's all right, but I'm hyper focused. We're trying to hunt and we're trying to kill. And so it's an obsession, right? And for better or for worse, that's what it is. That's my mentality, and that's kind of who I am. No matter what I do, my wife always jokes. She's like, you don't do anything halfway, right? It's all or nothing. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at. Obsession.
So with that mindset, what's your weakness?
Probably the obsession. Like I get so caught up in it, too much of it at times, like where I'm like, hey, chill out a little bit. Like it becomes like, if and this is a greater discussion of like who I am, and I know that I have trouble with getting caught up in allowing things to become my identity. I know my identity's in Christ, right? And that's what matters. But at times when I'm in it, I'm like, if we didn't kill something, I'm less of a human being. Granted, I know that, and I've had enough that like I know where I'm at as a human. But for a couple of days, like, not depression or anything, but if we don't kill something, I'm like, I'm down, right? It's like I get way too involved in sports at times. Like I'm a big Detroit Lions fan, and this year I took my daughter to the game, the first playoff game, and they lost. It messed me up way more than it should, it's just my personality.
Yeah.
Like I wear, my emotions on my sleeve when I get into something. I'm in it, right? It's passion. And so, yeah, when you fall short, that would be my downfall, where I let things probably affect me more than they should at times. But
yeah, that's a great question. I know sometimes, like, I want to do absolutely everything in my power to arrow this buck or arrow this bull to accomplish this goal. But I know, too, that, elk are only active in the mornings and evenings. So middle of day, if I'm tromping around the woods, I'm busting elk. Or if I'm too aggressive and I push them in the morning into their bedroom and I blow those elk out, then I have no play for the evening. So there's a lot of strategy and
waiting. Hurry up and wait.
Yes, and patience that comes involved. Even in Western hunting, even in such an aggressive style of hunting elk, you have to know when to push and when not. Like, you have to develop these instincts and have this, like, real intelligent approach. So I can see, like, being so fit, in such good shape, and you want it so bad, sometimes you're almost pushing too hard.
Much, for sure. Early years, for sure, we did that. We're like, let's just go slow. And honestly, there was a couple times we had opportunities because we were slow, kind of still hunting in the middle of the day. But more times than not, I guarantee we pushed, there's no telling how many elk we've pushed out of those woods in Colorado over the counter tag, everybody's pushing them around. So, but it's just like, I want to be the one to screw it up though, because I want to be the one to learn. So,
and focused intensity. There's other things you can do too, like with elk hunting. I'll stay up late, and in the middle of the night, I'm trying to locate bugles so I've got a bull to go after in the morning, or I may be starting at 3 or 4 in the morning to get to the spot, so daylight I'm there. And then that middle of the day, may be a bit slower, but now I'm trying to apply this strategy for my afternoon, evening hunt, put myself in the right place. So it is like trying to balance my aggressive nature, how bad I want to accomplish my goals, with also this strategy, and it's kind of the beauty of it too, is that there's different tools for the job, and a hammer doesn't always get it done.
Big sledgehammer.
Right.
That's usually my strategy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think these other hunts you're doing, the whitetails and things, like, you love elk, you love Western hunting, but I do think different species in different habitats improve your skills in different ways. And I think, like, I hunt elk aggressively, but it seems like the one thing I can always add to my game is more patience. Patience when I'm playing on them, when I'm
and knowing
going
shooting
in.
lanes, and like, all right, hey, when I set up, all right, I need to be able to see where he's going to come from, where he's going to walk. Can I even get a shot in this spot? And so whitetail has helped me a ton with that.
I bet.
I think this year we've got an antelope hunt. I want to.
Oh, you're going to love it.
That's one I can't wait for too.
Okay.
Looking forward to that. So we've got two archery bull tags. We're waiting on one, but we definitely have the other. But I'm fired up.
Oh man, spot and stock antelope. Like I say, different species and different habitats, but antelope, you may only get a handful of stalks on elk in a season. You can get a handful of stalks in a day on antelope.
Awesome.
And they're so switched on. Their eyesight is so good. There isn't much ungulation or topography, so you have to learn to work with every blade of grass, every rise, every hill. And so, putting those 20 stalks in, 25 stalks to kill an antelope, man, you come into elk season with a ton of confidence. It makes you way better, don't you think, Dan?
Yeah, we call it, like, just a preseason
warm-up. Yeah, almost like your first 4 games.
Sharpen everything.
Heck yeah, I'm fired up. I've got a buddy that's pretty big into it and has done it the last couple of years, and he was like, you got to come try it. So I think this year we're going to make it happen.
It's one of the funnest hunts I do,
That's what
too.
everybody says.
Like going out on the prairie, their dark black horns, some of the seasons you get to hunt, like the rut and even pre-rut and things of that nature. But it's a ton of fun, a ton of excitement, and it makes you way better at stalking.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, and long shots too. You got to
be long.
Longer shots. So you really got to practice behind the bow and be ready for those shots. And they're a smaller animal too, so you have to execute and put one on them. And then you do everything right, and then they'll get out of the way of your arrow, so they'll really get inside your head too.
Quick, right?
So they're a real challenge.
Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, we've set up a little bit of our own tack course at the house. So we got different species at different ranges, and so we'll start doing a ton of shooting come when it dries up. It's wet right now at the house, but man, we did it a couple weeks ago for the first time in a while. Like, I feel like with whitetail season, I had my bow in my hand every day, but I never took any shots, so it's like you get rusty. even though you have your bow in your hand every day, you know,
Yeah.
because you just kind of, you're like, you get in after dark or you get in mid-morning and you're behind the day because you stayed out a little bit too long. So I'll put my bow up. So I'm like, all right, I got to get back behind this thing. And so I'm looking forward to that. And it's just fun. You know, it's just almost like I don't play golf. So it's like golf for me. You know, like we'll get like 4 or 5 guys out there and we'll be like, all right, whoever has closest to the, 10 ring, you get to pick the next target and where we shoot from. And so it's a ton of fun.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm in the rebuilding phase as well. During hunting season, I'm trying to maintain my shooting, and now I'm trying to build again.
It back.
Yeah, a lot of arrows, a lot of indoor and things. That muscle mass too, like the workouts, the Mayhem Hunt, it's got to help with the hold on the bow as well.
Yeah,
right?
and this time of year, it's we try to build it around the Western hunt cycle because whitetail guys, let's be honest, they don't need a ton of fitness, but hey, they probably want to get into shape and look good with their shirt off, right? So it does help. And so like we program out. And so this time of year is like a strength building phase. So we're trying to get the legs stronger, is more than, like the cardio that we're doing. We're doing a ton of leg strength, building the upper body, doing those types of things. But yeah, I've had a ton of shoulder issues just from competing and compensating for years. And, something hurts. Let's just do more of whatever and it'll strengthen it. And so I've had to kind of back off and like be smarter about stuff. And I've learned some things that have helped me with archery. And so we do a ton of just shoulder stability stuff. One of the greatest things, they make a bamboo bar and you put bands on it and you lift it with like kettlebells or dumbbells. So it's oscillating. And so, man, you can bench with it, push up with it, do lunges with it overhead, but it just helps with all that shoulder stability. It's pretty cool. You should look into it. But
yeah, I will.
It's just a bamboo bar is what they call it.
I was going to ask you, so geared towards hunters, like hardcore bow hunters, lifelong bow hunters.
Yep.
Physically, or what could you give advice as far as longevity for health and maybe joint health or whatever?
Yeah, I think, I always tell people like warm up really good. There's so many people out there putting out good content of like good accessory stuff to do. Like I think a lot of guys get caught up in benching, right? So a lot of guys bench and then I may do some pull-ups. Pull-ups are your best friend. Building that strength in the upper body, but like doing a lot of pulling. I think guys get so caught up in the front side, seeing the chest, that we don't do enough pulling. And then, I do a lot of band work or activation. We put out like kind of a shoulder series of the things that we do doing a workout that's a bunch of upper body or before we shoot. And so it's a lot of banded, like external rotation. You just want to you want to strengthen everything around that shoulder girdle. I think a lot of people get caught up in the front side because that's what we do, bench. Like that's an easy one. Most people do that. And so the more you can get stuff around the back, the better off you're going to be because you need balance within that joint. And, if you're always doing the same thing, we always, I switched to left-handed 3 years ago because of my left shoulder. The stability or pressing out was actually causing some joint pain because turns out I had some tears in my rotator cuff, so I switched to left-handed. But you still need to work that opposite side and make sure you're not only building balance within that specific shoulder, but you're getting balance side to side, right? And so dumbbells are great for that, kettlebells, anything that's going to challenge
the motor control.
Yeah,
right?
Motor control. I think we get caught up in barbell stuff. Dumbbells are incredible for that because with a barbell, your stronger side can take over a little bit for your weaker side. So dumbbells, you're having to move and add it. So anytime you can add some type of stability to a movement, the better off you're going to be. Granted, throw in some barbell bench. There's no problem with that as long as you're not having any shoulder issues. But you can get a ton if you're trying to maximize your time. Dumbbells, kettlebells, upside down kettlebells to where you actually have to like navigate and do those types of things. Anytime you can build stability and strength, and then range of motion. Like we want to make sure obviously you're stretching, but if you're stretching, that's kind of a new range of motion. So make sure you're working through that entire range of motion.
Great information.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm doing a lot of pull-ups and also mixing in the push-ups and the dumbbells and definitely seeing the benefits. And as I get older, too, I try to warm up my shoulder before I shoot with bands and just pulling and just trying to get them warm because I have injured that shoulder shooting cold, 70 pounds, and I go out to draw and tweak that shoulder, and then it takes forever to heal.
You get hurt. it's not fun to come
so
back with.
I've got great shoulders right now, so just try to warm them up before I shoot, and then definitely doing a lot of that and seeing seeing real benefits in it too. I notice like the upper body work, I just don't tweak my back as much. Like years without even getting a minor tweak, and if it does happen on the scale of 1 to 10, it's more towards a 1,
and you
not
come
towards
back
a
from
10.
It quicker
it's
usually.
no big deal. A couple days off and go for it.
It's hard to you doing some of the things that we do. It's hard to completely prevent injury, right? You're taking some type of risk doing it, but the stronger you are, the better you have stability and those types of things. When you do get injured, most of the times you'll come back quicker, right? You can't always prevent injury, right? You're going to be on the mountain, fall in a hole, step off something, whatever. We can't prevent those things, but you're going to come back quicker usually the stronger you are.
And I love that. The muscle strength too. There couldn't be better advice for elk hunting, for packing those big heavy things out of the mountains, But that the muscle strength and the stability keeps you safe too. Like I've always ran a ton in the mountains, and so like over time, my joints and my muscles supporting those joints have got so strong that I never worry about twisting an ankle. I never worry about tweaking a knee. It's just my body holds up so well in the mountains from that stability of my legs, and even adding more of these leg exercises like the running and the up and down hills has been great. But now more of the step ups, more of the calf raises, more of the lunges, more of the squats, in adding that strength, I'm seeing the benefit in my stability, and also I think that like stability helps you while stalking animals. Like stalking slow is really difficult.
It's hard.
It's so difficult.
You've never been more out of breath, more sweaty, trying to go slow and stabilize.
And balanced, and so I think like adding those muscles on my legs, like I'm not as light as I once was, but I think I'm performing better in the mountains.
The stronger you are, there's a happy medium. Obviously, you don't want to get so bulky or so big that you're carrying around a bunch of weight. But the stronger you are, the less percentage that pack is, the less percentage that hind quarter is, because you're stronger. So I think leg strength, like you're saying, Kat, like. One of the greatest tools is a sled. If you ever have a sled, to do some sled pushes.
I have done it before,
Man, sled pushes, if you don't have mountains to run, right?
Yeah.
But a sled push it gets the calves, it gets the quads, it gets the hamstrings.
Oh my God.
You can push it. You can pull it.
Yeah.
We've done some of the worst workouts we've done are some sled push workouts mixed with running or mixed with a Stairmaster. There's just so many different things that you can do, but the lower body is kind of the key, right? It's the foundation, and that's what we do a lot of emphasis on, and then the upper body is obviously is super important as well.
I've only had the chance to use those sleds a couple times, but you talk about a good workout.
So
and that pulling backwards too, I think that's really good for the knees.
It gets the VMOs, all your quad muscles fired up, and really it creates more stability in there.
Hip flexors, the hips, man.
I'm telling you, dragging a sled is the worst. You put a band around, or not a band, but like a belt around your waist and just walk with it heavy. Yeah. You've never wanted to quit something more in your life.
I got to check out some more of those sleds. I
haven't done that either.
It's
really cool.
Awful. Yeah. I always say that
let's go suffer.
If you're pushing it, you think steep climb, right? And then if you're pulling it, it's more that gradual, you can kind of get that, when you can walk with your heel and just kind of motor through it. That's what it feels like pulling that sled, but it's just awful. It's so bad and so good at the same time. Right? You get done, you're just bad.
I've been looking at those attack bikes too. Those things, I get a chance to use them every now and again, but gosh, what a great way to get the heart rate up, to get that cardio.
They're so bad.
You implement those into your workouts as well?
We use them all the time. Assault bike, Echo bike, Rogue makes one. Man, it's the worst machine by far. We give people an option. You're like, all right, we're going to use a machine. Everybody kind of get on a machine. Those are usually the last. They're great and terrible at the same time. They're so useful, just upper and lower body at the same time. Same with a rower, but man, those Echo / assault bikes are just they're terrible.
They get my heart rate so high.
You can do so many good things with them. You can move slow. They're good for warming up.
Okay.
They're really good for sprints. If you do some just short calorie sprints all out, you'll see people's soul leave them. It's terrible. Those are the days. We've done a couple. I keep pointing at Luke because he's still actively competing. Last year they did a workout and the coaches kind of tricked them they told him, go all out on this first round, blah, blah, blah. There was some type of prize, right? Well, then, so they did that, and everybody's laying on the floor. Well, they gave them a reset, and they had to hit that same calorie in that same amount of time, and it was a bloodbath. Like, it's so bad. It's just like there's no hiding, right?
Man.
Yeah,
So.
I've been looking into getting one of those machines for the house.
You need
I've
one.
only had a chance to use one when different workouts
Yeah.
and different places I've gone. But yeah, it looks like those things are just
It's
so
probably
good.
your best investment on
Really?
a machine, right?
Really?
If you were to pick one machine, I would go with the Rogue Echo bike.
Okay.
It's bulletproof, like from a maintenance standpoint, and it's awful. It is just absolutely terrible. It's belt driven, so like some of them are chain driven, some of them are belt driven, and the belt driven. So like with the chain, once you get it going, it not that it's going to like self-sustain and cruise, but it's easier to like maintain. With that Echo bike, it's belt driven, and so when you stop the power, it slows down the power, and you can like actively. It's the worst thing ever.
That sounds great.
It's so great, right? It's so awesome.
Love it.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, you definitely need one of those at the house.
Yeah, so guys can check out your app that's
Yep.
available, and then do you also you have a separate app for CrossFit?
Yeah,
fitness,
yeah.
right?
So just Mayhem, CrossFit Mayhem. A lot of our stuff's on YouTube. MayhemNation.com is kind of where all of our CrossFit stuff is, and then MayhemHunt.com.
Oh, cool. So
Yeah.
guys can check out
All of it,
starters on YouTube and
All of
things
our
of that
stuff's on
nature?
YouTube. Yeah, there's we have a separate Mayhem Hunt YouTube where most of our hunting stuff lives, and then our Mayhem CrossFit Mayhem YouTube is where a lot of our. I mean, it's just general fitness. Like there could be a CrossFit Games athlete. There could be us doing a 24-hour row, the mountain bike race.
24-hour row is crazy. The 24-hour, that's a true test of endurance,
yeah,
man.
it's
That is gnarly.
It's more mental than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think between four of us this year, we did right around 380,000 meters in 24 hours. So yeah, it's.
How long shifts do you take on it, or how do you structure it?
So the way we would do it is between four people, you'd stick two people on the rower at a time, and you'd do 4 10-minute intervals, and then the next pair would jump on. So you'd go for an hour and a half essentially between two people, 10-minute increments, and then you'd get an hour and a half off. And so it gets about midnight. You're like, I'm not doing this again until next year. It's just it's a fun test. Like my kids will stay at the gym all night, so it's like a lock-in. Like they love being there, and we've got probably 8 or 10 teams that are doing it with us. So it's a fun event. You're making fun of people when they're trying to sleep, and you're like, it's a good time. It's really bad, but it's really fun. So.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
What a great way to test yourself. Yeah, and I just think like the Mayhem Hunt, I feel like the CrossFit is such a great fit for like Western hunters for preparing for these hunts.
Yeah.
And it just seems like when your body's in shape, I think you're sharpening the mind and also sharpening the body. So I think you get so many benefits out of it that you really come into season swinging.
For sure. Yeah. Why not come in, in your peak shape, and, you're not going to lose anything in the mountains. We know that, if you're going to keep walking. So, yeah, man, it's just something we've been super passionate about, something I really enjoy. And so we just kind of married the two. And so that's our goal, is to have people as prepared as they can from the physical side. You still got to do the mental work, which we all know is a lot, and you need to study, and, everything goes into that when, you're studying maps, and then, and it's just something we're super passionate about for sure.
It's beautiful. Dan, closing thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's all good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Thinking about preventing injury, and I mean it's huge. Like,
Longevity.
Yeah, longevity. That's what I'm like really focused on. I want to be doing this when I'm 70.
Yep.
And so I'm always thinking about longevity, and I was thinking too. I mean, packing elk meat. Like, I mean, you have to have limits too.
Yeah.
I mean, gets to a point you can carry anything on this planet. I mean, badass at what you do, but still Rich has limits.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Everybody should.
Yep.
Because you don't want to injure yourself.
Yeah, so you got to know what you're capable of, right?
Yeah,
You've got to be
it's
realistic about that. We always talk about that with CrossFit. Everybody's like, oh, CrossFit, you get hurt. CrossFit, you get hurt. And I'm like, no, check your ego at the door.
Yeah.
Know what you can do. Know your limits, but this will also help you find those limits, right? So it's like, all right, hey, I know in the gym carrying 100 pounds is tough. So maybe I'm not going to take a hind and a shoulder, right? Mm-hmm. Like maybe I'm going to be smart. I'm going to take a couple trips because my cardio is better than my strength, Mm-hmm. So there's so many things that go into it you're going to learn, and that's why I always tell people, I'm like, from a coaching aspect, you need to learn your athletes, but you as an athlete, you need to learn what you're capable of. That's a great
100%.
thing to think about, is like teach you your limits, right?
And even better, do it in the gym.
Right.
Rather than
miles,
hurt yourself.
Yep, exactly.
And
and
have
then
to
who's
hit the
gonna
red
get you
button.
out? Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, 44, and I feel like I'm peak performance right now. Like I've kept my body in really good shape, and I'm able to perform in the mountains, and I want to continue
To do
that.
that.
So I just have to continue to put in the work and
Yep.
work really hard
Yep.
to do all the things you're saying, the strength, the endurance, the range of motion. And so all this is like a great motivator. It's the off season now, and I just get so many benefits out of these CrossFit workouts. And if I'm being really honest, like running comes easy for me. I've been doing it for 20 years. I don't know that I'm getting the mental toughness out of it like I am
you enjoy
in a
it. It's
CrossFit
like a peaceful
workout.
time,
Like I have to get myself up to do these workouts, and I see the benefit from them, but I'm gaining more mental strength from those than I am a 10-mile run, because that comes easy for me.
Yeah, that's what you
so,
want to do.
I love it, man. I'm going to check out the app.
Heck yeah.
Give me some closing thoughts.
Yeah, man. I think it's everybody gets caught up in like, oh, I do this, whatever, and there's infighting, right? Do something, like do some fitness.
Yeah.
Be prepared. Hey, if 10 miles is what you want to do to get prepared, then do that. At least you're doing something. Like, I would rather people do something than to just sit on the couch and do nothing. Mm-hmm. But we all know that through suffering and through hard things, that you're going to be better on the other side. Mm-hmm. So do something hard.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Thanks
Love
so
it.
much for
Thank
joining
you,
us on the podcast.
Yeah.
Appreciate
it.
it.
Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.